Hello and welcome to Lecture 8. Today we will be discussing projectile motion. So projectile motion is when we have a body that is moving without thrust and without drag and without lift, and it's only under the influence of gravity. So what happens is that it starts off with some initial velocity, either in the y direction or in the x direction or in both, and it flies for a while until it hits the ground again. So a projectile would be like if I threw a rock, that's a projectile. If I shot a gun, that's a projectile. And so while projectile motion is kind of a limited situation, we can use it to model these kinds of free flight scenarios. So let's move on to how we describe it mathematically. So here I've written some equations. First, we have that the acceleration of our projectile as a function of time is equal to g, because there's no horizontal acceleration, since there's no forces in the horizontal direction on it, and there's the only vertical acceleration is that due to gravity. That's like the fundamental assumption of projectile motion. I know that you might think that, well, let's say we fire a cannonball out of a cannon, isn't the cannon providing horizontal acceleration? Well, no, once the cannonball leaves the barrel of the cannon, then it's no longer accelerating, it's just moving at a velocity. And there's no drag or friction or anything because we're neglecting air resistance. So acceleration is equal to g, which is negative 9.8 meters per second squared in the j hat direction. That's the y direction. And so velocity as a function of time is, using our kinematic formulas, the velocity at time equals 0, which we take to be kind of when our projectile gets fired, plus gravity times time. So what that means is that since acceleration is the change in velocity, the change in velocity over time times time is equal to the change in velocity. So our velocity as a function of time is our initial velocity plus our acceleration times time. And then our position as a function of time is our position at time equals 0 plus our initial velocity times time plus 1/2 acceleration times time squared. And again, this is, basic kinematic formulas. We did this earlier, I think in lecture 5. We can't derive this bottom relation without calculus, but it is something that, you'll have to take for granted. And notice that here a, v, and r are all vectors. They can be in 2 dimensions where we have x and y. That's what we're going to consider in this lecture. But there can also be 3 dimensions, x, y, and z, and acceleration is still in the y direction only. So what we can do to make this easier to solve is we break it down into x and y components. And again, this is for the 2-dimensional situation. So in the x component, acceleration is 0, so velocity is constant, and position is equal to initial position plus velocity times time. And in the y direction, acceleration is another constant. It's g, again, and velocity is equal to initial velocity plus gt, and y is equal to initial y plus initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gravity times time squared, as expected. So this is how we solve equations using vectors. We break them down into components and we solve for individual components. So let's do an example. We have a bullet and we shoot it out of a gun 100 meters above sea level, and at an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal and at an initial speed of 1,000 meters per second. So assuming gravity is equal to 10 meters per second squared, this is just to make the math simpler, and that the bullet lands at sea level, let's calculate how far the bullet travels before hitting the ground and the time it takes to make that journey. So notice that the bullet is not starting at the ground, it's starting, say on a cliff or something, or just, we're holding this gun up very high. So what happens is it'll land lower than when it started, and so we're going to have to change our initial y0 value. So starting with the solution, here we are solving for kind of the basic parameters in our mathematical description from earlier. So we have that acceleration in the x direction is 0, acceleration in the y direction is g, which is 10 in our case, since we're just assuming that. The initial position in the x direction is 0, and the initial position in the y direction is 100 meters. the initial velocity in the x direction is 1,000 meters per second times cosine of 30 degrees. You can see this if you draw a diagram and draw the components of velocity parallel and perpendicular to the ground respectively, and you'll see that the parallel component is adjacent to the 30-degree angle, and the perpendicular component is opposite to the 30-degree angle. So we use cosine to find the horizontal velocity. So it's 500 root 3. Again, it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And the y component is 1,000 sine 30, or 500 meters per second. So yeah, that's basically a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And I decided not to draw a diagram here because it's important for you to kind of figure out how to visualize this yourself. So here's just another thing where now we're looking at the x component here. Again, velocity in the x direction is a constant because there's no acceleration in the x direction. So it's always 500 root 3 meters per second. And so position in the x direction, or just x to be simple, is the initial x position plus velocity in the x direction times time, which is 500 root 3 times time, because x of 0 is equal to 0. And in the y direction, v sub y is equal to initial v sub y plus gt, which is equal to 500 minus 10t. Again, we're assuming g is negative 10 here, not negative 9.8, and this is just to make our math somewhat prettier. And so y of t is equal to y of 0 plus v sub y times t, where v sub y is the initial v sub y, plus 1/2 gt squared. Or subbing in the values that we know, it's 100 plus 500t minus 5t squared. So what we want to do is we want to find the time at which our bullet crashes into the ground. So we set y equal to 0, and we solve using the quadratic formula. I haven't shown that work here, but it's what we're doing. And we find that t sub f, or the final time, is equal to 50 plus or minus 6 times the square root of 70. So here we're going to use the positive solution because the other solution is negative. And it means that kind of if we extrapolated the bullet's trajectory from before it was fired, it would have been at a position of y equals 0 at a time of 50 minus 6 root 70, which is a small negative number. So the thing we're looking for, which is after the bullet is fired at t equals 0, is the positive solution, which is 50 plus 6 root 70. So to find x, which is how far it travels, since x of 0 is 0, and we want to find the horizontal distance it travels, we find x of t at t sub f. So recall that our function for x of t was just 500 root 3 times t, and so we just multiply that by the t we found, and our solution is 25,000 times the square root of 3 plus 3,000 times the square root of 210 meters, which is, if we do the math and round it to 4 significant figures, since the largest number we had earlier was 1,000, 86,780 meters. So yeah, that's projectile motion. It's honestly a fairly simple application of basic kinematic formulas, but what's important is that you understand that the only force acting on the projectile was gravity. And make sure to understand that the velocity can be decomposed. The initial velocity can be decomposed into x and y components by using cosine and sine, just like every other vector. So yeah, thank you for watching today's lecture, and yeah, I hope you understood this material.